The Declaration. The Galactic Senate hung suspended in orbit above the glittering city world of Varnath Prime, a colossal ring of glass and light circling a dying sun. Inside its marble and alloy halls, the rulers of 1,000 worlds gathered in solemn silence, all except for the Emperor of the Galactic Empire, who stood at the center dais, his scaled face twisted in a sneer of absolute confidence. "Humanity," he hissed, voice echoing through the chamber. "A species of primitives who dares defy the authority of the Empire. They have refused assimilation. They have destroyed one of our patrol fleets. And now they must be made an example." The hall thundered with agreement, claws slapping marble, mandibles clicking, feathers bristling. Across the galaxy, 1,000,000 transmission relays carried his words to every corner of known space. The Emperor raised a clawed hand. "Effective immediately, the Empire declares total war on the human confederation of Sol." 1,000 alien voices cheered. Cameras flashed. Star maps flared to life, with Sol, Earth's home system, highlighted in red. To the galaxy, the declaration was a show of power. To the humans, it was supposed to be a death sentence. But 42 light minutes away, aboard the UES Resolute, a human admiral was watching the broadcast and smiling. Admiral Helena Voss sat in her command chair, posture relaxed, the faint hum of the bridge around her vibrating through the soles of her polished boots. The giant holoscreen before her showed the Emperor's reptilian visage mid-speech, still dripping with arrogance. Helena's only reaction was to pull a cigarette from her case, light it, and exhale a slow, deliberate cloud of smoke. The young ensign at comms looked nervous. "Ma'am, the Empire just declared war," Helena interrupted. "Yes, I caught that part." Her voice was calm, too calm, a velvet edge of amusement beneath iron. She leaned back, flicking ash into a metallic tray. The bridge crew exchanged uncertain glances. "Should we?" Her tactical officer began, but Helena raised a hand. "No panic, no speeches. They wanted our attention. Now they have it." On the holoscreen, the Emperor continued to rant about disciplinary measures and species hierarchy. Helena smirked. "Turn that off," she said. "I've heard enough posturing for one lifetime." The image vanished. The bridge fell silent, the only sound the faint crackle of her cigarette. She stood slowly, adjusting the white jacket of her fleet uniform, the golden insignia of Fleet Command glinting beneath the cold lights. "Listen up," she said. Her voice filled the room. "The Galactic Empire thinks they just signed our death warrant. They believe this war will be short, efficient, glorious." She paused, letting the words hang, smoke drifting between her fingers like fog. "They don't understand who they're fighting." The tension broke. Nervous chuckles rippled through the bridge crew. Helena smiled slightly. "We are human. We don't roll over. We adapt. We improvise. And when someone threatens our home, we make sure they regret it for the rest of galactic history." The tactical officer, a broad-shouldered man named Graves, grinned. "Orders, Admiral." Helena turned toward the window, where Earth hung like a blue jewel against the void, fragile, beautiful, utterly untouchable. "Prepare the fleet," she said softly. "Full alert across Mars and Luna stations. Activate every defense satellite, every drone. Recall the Dauntless group from the Outer Belt. And someone tell Command to dust off the Titan project." A few eyebrows rose. The Titan project was supposed to be myth, experimental, dangerous, barely tested. Helena didn't care. "And what message should we send back to the Empire?" the comms officer asked. Helena smiled again, the kind of smile that made enemies sweat. "Send them our regards." She took one last drag, flicked the cigarette into the tray, and added, "And load the railguns." Across the fleet, the order rippled outward like a thunderclap. Lights flared to red on warships orbiting Mars, carriers launched from Luna, and swarms of drones ignited their engines in silent, synchronized motion. Humanity wasn't preparing for defense. They were preparing for a hunt. Helena walked to the strategic table as holograms came alive, glowing lines tracing the Sol system, overlaid with Imperial fleet projections. The Empire's armada was already mobilizing at the edge of the Sirius corridor, 100 dreadnoughts strong. "They'll come in heavy," Graves said. "Expect orbital saturation, plasma strikes, maybe a planet breaker or two." Helena nodded. "Then we'll meet them where they least expect, in the dark." Her eyes gleamed in the reflection of the star map. She tapped one region, the Kuiper Belt. "Out there, their sensors will fail. Their formations will break. We'll make them bleed before they ever see Earth." The officers nodded, their fear melting into resolve. The Admiral's calm was infectious, her confidence absolute. Hours later, Helena sat alone in her quarters, a small flame illuminating the cigarette between her fingers. The weight of what was coming pressed down on her. Millions of lives, countless worlds, an empire older than humanity itself. She exhaled and smiled. "They think they're declaring war," she whispered to the stars. "They're declaring extinction." Outside, the Resolute turned slowly toward the edge of the system, her engines burning blue against the void. Humanity had been challenged, and Admiral Helena Voss was already planning how to end the Galactic Empire. First contact, final warning. The void between stars was silent. Then, the silence shattered. A ripple of gravitic distortion tore through the edge of the Sol system as the 13th Imperial Battle Armada emerged from hyperspace. Hundreds of warships, sleek, obsidian leviathans bristling with plasma cannons, arranged themselves into perfect formation, blocking out the distant sun. The Armada's commander, Lord Admiral Shrugged, reclined in his throne-like chair aboard the dreadnought Vehicle's Wrath. Before him, the holographic display showed the distant blue orb of Earth. "Pathetic," he muttered, "a primitive world still clinging to oxygen and oceans. This will be quick." His officers hissed in agreement. "Proceed," Shrugged ordered. "Begin atmospheric intimidation sweeps. I want their defenses scanned and they're all broken before lunch." But before a single fighter could launch, the comms officer froze. "My lord, an unauthorized transmission. It's overriding every Imperial frequency." The hologram flickered, and then a human woman appeared. Admiral Helena Voss sat casually in her chair, cigarette in hand, the faint smoke curling upward in defiance of the pristine holographic clarity. Behind her, the command deck of the UES Resolute glowed with quiet menace. "Well," she began, smiling faintly, "you must be the 13th Armada. Welcome to Sol." Gasps rippled through the alien bridge. Helena continued, unbothered. "I'm Admiral Helena Voss of the United Earth Defense Fleet. I'm sure you've come all this way expecting an easy victory. Let me save you the trouble." She flicked her lighter, inhaled, and exhaled a perfect ring of smoke. "You're not leaving this system alive." One of Shrugged's lieutenants snarled, "How dare you address?" Helena raised a finger. "Quiet, lizard. Adults are talking." Even through the hologram, the silence that followed was palpable. Helena's voice softened, almost conversational. "You declared war on us. Fine, but understand something. Humans don't fight for glory or empire. We fight because someone gave us no choice. And when that happens," she leaned forward, her eyes cold steel, "we burn the stars before we bow." The hologram cut off. Shrugged blinked, then burst out laughing. "Such arrogance. She speaks as though her species has any chance at all." The laughter died when the tactical officer screamed, "Energy spikes, rear sector, multiple contacts." The Resolute and her task force had emerged from behind a drifting asteroid belt, invisible until now. They didn't use hyperspace signals, didn't broadcast IDs, they were ghosts. The first volley struck before the Imperials could even raise shields. Kinetic rail slugs, traveling at a fraction of light speed, tore through Imperial cruisers like paper. No explosions, just instantaneous destruction. Ships folding inward, hulls imploding in eerie silence. On the Resolute's bridge, Helena didn't flinch. Target priority, command vessels. Disrupt coordination. Leave their weapons blind. Her crew moved with precision. The bridge lights glowed crimson, consoles flickering as targeting data streamed in real time. Enemy shields collapsing in sectors 3 and 4, Graves reported. They're scattering. Good, Helena replied. Hunt them. Drone swarms streaked forward, hundreds of autonomous units darting through the chaos, detonating in surgical bursts along reactor cores. In under 10 minutes, half the Imperial escort line was gone. Helena's tone remained cool. Patch me through again. The hologram reappeared on Shrugged's bridge. Smoke drifted lazily around Helena's face. Consider that your warning shot. Shrugged's scaled fists clenched. You insolent. Helena cut him off. Next time I won't miss. She ended the transmission. Across the Sol system, humanity's fleet stirred. Orbital defense platforms aligned around Earth and Mars. Sublight carriers deployed stealth mines across key warp routes. Luna's hidden rail batteries powered up, their barrels glowing white-hot. The Empire, accustomed to overwhelming force, had never faced an enemy who planned for asymmetric annihilation. Admiral, Graves said, enemy dreadnoughts are retreating behind debris fields. They're trying to regroup. Let them, Helena said. They'll bring more. They always do. And when they do, she tapped her ash onto the table, eyes narrowing at the holographic display of Imperial fleet formations. We'll be ready. Her communications officer hesitated. Should we report this as a victory, ma'am? Helena chuckled, low and dangerous. No, not yet. This wasn't a victory. She looked out through the viewport, where the remnants of Imperial ships drifted like dying embers across the black. This was the opening note. On the Imperial Command world, chaos erupted. The transmission footage of the human attack, grainy, horrifying, and utterly efficient, spread through military networks. Dozens of admirals gathered in disbelief. Half an armada, one croaked, gone in less than an hour. The Emperor's claws dug into the throne's armrest. Deploy the Grand Fleet. If the humans want war, then we will drown them in plasma. But beneath the arrogance, fear lingered. The reports spoke of impossible tactics, human fleets vanishing into asteroid shadows, drones with learning AI, soldiers who fought after losing limbs. And then there was the woman, the one who smiled while the Empire's fleet burned. Back aboard the Resolute, Helena watched the stars flicker. Her officers celebrated quietly, exchanging handshakes and grins. She allowed it for a moment, then spoke. Don't celebrate too loudly, she said. We've only woken the beast. They'll come harder next time. Graves nodded. What'll we do when they do? Helena smiled, slow and dangerous. We'll light another cigarette. The bridge erupted in quiet laughter. Hours later, as the Resolute drifted on silent watch near Jupiter, Helena stood alone, gazing out at the faint glimmer of distant warships reforming. The Empire wasn't defeated. Not yet. But now they knew the truth, that humanity would not kneel, would not beg, and would not break. She whispered into the quiet, smoke curling from her lips like a battle hymn. You declared war. We accepted your surrender. The stars shimmered, indifferent witnesses to a war that had only just begun. The Empire's fallacy. The Galactic Empire's fleets darkened the stars. From the core to the rim, millions of ships mobilized, dreadnoughts, carriers, and entire planetary armadas, all converging toward Sol. The Emperor's voice roared through every comm channel, commanding vengeance for the 13th Armada. Bring me their world, he thundered. Burn their sky to ash. For centuries, no enemy had ever resisted Imperial might. None had ever survived an open war. Until now, because the Empire had committed a fatal mistake. It believed humanity fought like everyone else. Admiral Helena Voss sat in the war room of the UES Resolute, surrounded by the glow of holographic battle reports. She hadn't slept in days. She didn't need to. Caffeine and stubborn fury had become her fuel. Status on Operation Glasshouse? She asked, voice steady. Lieutenant Graves, now promoted to Fleet XO, gestured toward the star map. Phase 1 complete. We've taken out 3 Imperial relay stations. No trace left. Helena nodded. Good. No comms, no coordination. Cut the head, the body flails. Across the galaxy, Imperial fleets were flailing indeed. Convoys vanished in deep space. Shipyards exploded without warning. Refueling outposts reported human raids, only for the attackers to vanish before reinforcements arrived. But Helena wasn't commanding from the front anymore. She was orchestrating chaos. Decentralized command, she had ordered. Every human ship acts independently. Every captain chooses the battlefield. The result was unlike anything the Empire had ever faced. Their structured, hierarchical war doctrine, perfect for crushing predictable foes, was unraveling against an enemy that fought like wildfire. Far across the void, Lord Admiral Shrugged paced in his replacement flagship, the VA Cole's Honor. His scales were dulled with exhaustion, his voice hoarse from shouting. "They're everywhere and nowhere," he roared. "How can a species this young understand warfare at this scale?" His aide hesitated. "Reports indicate they study us, my lord. They adapt. Every defeat they inflict changes their next strategy. They seem to evolve." Shrugged snarled. "They're animals, not tacticians." But deep down, he was beginning to doubt that. The humans fought without fear, without hesitation. They would sacrifice ships, entire crews, just to cripple a single Imperial carrier. It was madness, and it worked. In the dim light of the Resolute's strategy deck, Helena stared at a list of casualty reports. Each one was a scar, names, faces, voices lost in the void. She hated reading them, but she always did. Her aide, Commander Reyes, approached carefully. "Ma'am, maybe you should rest. The fleet can survive without me." Helena's tone was soft, but her gaze was sharp. "No, they fight because I fight." Reyes hesitated. "The men say you never flinch. They say you don't fear anything." Helena smiled faintly. "That's not true. I fear we might start enjoying this too much." Weeks passed. The war spread. Human fleets struck deep into Imperial territory, raiding worlds, freeing enslaved species, and turning the Empire's allies against it. The galaxy began to whisper, "The humans are coming." Entire systems revolted. Slave worlds saw human drop ships streaking from orbit and rose up with improvised weapons, shouting words in a language they barely knew. For Earth, Imperial soldiers began to fear the dark. They claimed human ghosts whispered over comms, voices reciting battle hymns, ancient Earth songs, or calm female voices saying, "You shouldn't have come here." The Empire's morale broke faster than its fleets. One intercepted broadcast showed Helena interrogating a captured alien commander. The alien, bloodied but proud, hissed, "You humans are insane. You fight without logic, without restraint. You destroy even when you're dying." Helena's reply was calm. "You mistake chaos for intent. You think we fight without reason. But here's the truth." She leaned forward, eyes burning. "We fight to win, no matter the cost." She stood, crushing her cigarette underfoot. "You call that insanity. I call it survival." The recording spread through Imperial ranks like a virus. Soldiers began to question their cause. Officers hesitated before orders. And the Emperor's fury turned to desperation. To counter humanity's onslaught, the Empire revealed its ultimate weapon, the Celestial Dreadnought. It was not a ship, it was a mobile world. A moon-sized fortress bristling with plasma cannons and a gravitational disruptor capable of tearing planets apart. The Empire had kept its secret for centuries, a deterrent against rebellion. Now it was unleashed. The Dreadnought's activation lit up every human sensor in the quadrant. Its energy output was greater than all of Earth's suns combined. Finally, Helena murmured as the readings came through. "They brought out the big one." Graves frowned. "You sound almost pleased." "I am," Helena said, lighting a new cigarette. "That thing is their pride. Pride makes you predictable." She tapped the display. "If we take it down, the Empire collapses. And I intend to take it down." Her staff stared at her. "With what fleet, ma'am? It's unstoppable." Helena smiled faintly. "Everything burns, Graves. You just need to know where to light the match." As her plan formed, the war entered its most violent phase. Entire constellations burned. Human losses climbed into the millions, but morale never cracked. Every soldier knew what was at stake: freedom. Helena's campaign became legend. Strikes coordinated across 5 systems. Data viruses infecting Imperial AIs, fleets disguised as asteroids. The humans were rewriting warfare itself. And now, all roads led to one final confrontation. A trap set in the cold storms of Jupiter, where humanity would face the Celestial Dreadnought and decide the fate of the galaxy. In the quiet before battle, Helena stood alone on her bridge. Outside, the gas giant storm swirled like an endless sea of fire. She whispered to herself, not as an admiral, but as a human. We started this as a defense. Now it's a reckoning. She turned to her crew. Transmit the coordinates. Tell every fleet, the hunt ends here. The stars flickered, as if holding their breath. Humanity was done surviving. It was time to end the Empire. Ashes and smoke. Jupiter loomed below, its storms glowing like molten seas beneath the shadow of war. The Celestial Dreadnought had arrived, a fortress the size of a moon, its armored hull radiating light brighter than any sun. It dwarfed everything around it, a mechanical god of annihilation. Admiral Helena Voss watched from the bridge of the UES Resolute, her reflection mirrored against the viewport's glass. She could see her own eyes, calm, unreadable, staring back. Behind her, the crew waited in silence. "Status?" she asked. "Enemy fleet confirmed," said Graves. 400 warships escorting the dreadnought. It's charging its primary weapon. Helena's cigarette flared as she took a slow drag. "Good," she said. "Let them think we're running." She turned to the holographic map hovering in midair. It showed the gas giant's swirling bands, red, orange, and gold, and a massive Imperial fleet descending into orbit. What the enemy couldn't see were the thousands of human vessels hidden within Jupiter's magnetic storms, masked by radiation and electronic interference. It was called Operation Typhoon, a suicidal plan months in the making. "Are all strike groups in position?" "Confirmed," Graves said, voice tight. "Once we engage, there's no retreat." Helena's expression didn't waver. Retreat isn't in our vocabulary. The Empire came forward in flawless formation. The dreadnought opened its weapon ports, a sphere of white energy building at its heart, a beam capable of splitting a planet's crust. Shrugged's voice echoed across open channels, triumphant and cruel. "Human Admiral, I offer you one chance to surrender before I vaporize your world." Helena exhaled a long stream of smoke and replied, voice cool and amused. "Funny, I was about to offer you the same." Then she whispered, "Execute Typhoon." From within Jupiter's storms, the void came alive. Thousands of human ships burst forth, cruisers, frigates, drones, rising from the clouds like metallic phantoms. Railguns thundered, sending tungsten slugs across space faster than light could reflect. The first volley ripped through the dreadnought's escort line. The second volley struck its shield generators. The third hit home. Inside the Imperial command ship, alarm screamed. Shields collapsing. Outer hull breached. Shrek roared. "Counterfire! Eradicate them!" Plasma torrents filled space, slicing through human ships like molten scythes. The Resolute shook violently, its decks trembling as explosions tore through her flanks. But the fleet pressed on, diving in close, ignoring losses. Helena stood firm, smoke curling from her lips. "All units, close the gap. Get me within 2 kilometers of that monster." Graves turned to her in shock. 2 kilometers? That's suicide." Helena smiled faintly. "That's war." The human fleet moved like a living swarm, hundreds of ships sacrificing themselves to open a corridor. One after another, they rammed Imperial destroyers, detonating fusion cores, turning the space around Jupiter into a burning graveyard. Still, the dreadnought endured. Its cannons roared, vaporizing entire squadrons with each blast. But it couldn't stop what was coming. The Resolute charging straight toward its heart. "Lock fusion warheads," Helena ordered. "Target the primary core." "Ma'am," Graves said, voice breaking. "If we detonate that close, we won't make it out." Helena's tone softened. "Then make sure they don't either." The bridge fell silent. Every officer turned to her, understanding dawning. There was no hesitation, only pride. "On your command," said Graves. Helena straightened, flicked her cigarette into the ashtray, and gave her final order. "Light it up." The Resolute surged forward, engines screaming, debris fields blazing around her like falling stars. The Dreadnought's guns turned to focus fire, too late. The human flagship plunged straight into its weapon bay, ramming through armor thicker than mountains. Impact. Silence. Then came light. A bloom of white fury engulfed Jupiter's orbit, the Resolute's fusion core detonating within the Dreadnought's heart. The explosion split the void itself, a wave of blinding energy tearing through the Imperial fleet. When the light faded, nothing remained of the Dreadnought but molten fragments spiraling into Jupiter's storms. The Empire's might, erased in a single stroke. Hours later, across the galaxy, Imperial channels went dark. Fleets surrendered. Colonies revolted. The Emperor's reign crumbled beneath the weight of disbelief. The war that had begun with a declaration now ended in silence. And amidst the static, one faint signal broke through. It was a woman's voice, calm, smoky, defiant. "Next time," Helena Voss said, "send more ships." The signal repeated once, then faded into the void. Weeks later, a delegation of alien diplomats landed on Earth. Their robes were scorched, their eyes hollow. They expected victors drunk on revenge. Instead, they found humanity rebuilding, quietly, efficiently. They were led into a war room filled with smoke and maps. And there she was, Helena Voss, alive. Her uniform scorched, her hair shorter, her hands bandaged. She looked up as the aliens entered and gestured for them to sit. "You represent what's left of the Empire?" she asked. The eldest alien nodded. "We wish to discuss peace." Helena took a slow drag from her cigarette, eyes half-lidded. "Good. I like peace." She leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. "But let's be clear, peace will be on our terms. No more slaves. No more assimilation. No more empires." The aliens exchanged nervous glances. Helena exhaled a thin stream of smoke and smiled. "You tried to rule us. Now you'll learn from us." Outside, the sunrise broke across Earth's sky, pale gold and endless. Humanity had survived the impossible, not through superior weapons, but through will, defiance, and the refusal to kneel. As the meeting adjourned, Helena stepped onto the balcony overlooking the reborn city of New Geneva. She lit another cigarette, watching the clouds drift over the shining towers. Graves joined her quietly. "You really think it's over?" Helena smiled faintly. "Wars never end, Graves. They just change shape." She looked up at the stars. "But for now, let them fear the silence." Smoke rose into the morning air, twisting like ghosts toward the heavens that humans now called their own. The war had begun with arrogance and ended with a woman's shrug. And somewhere in the vastness of space, her voice lingered still, echoing in every corner of the galaxy. "You declared war. We declared humanity.